Welcome to another episode of the K&A Football Podcast. The NFL season is less than 2 weeks away, I believe. I think 2 weeks from tomorrow. So I guess that's not less than 2 weeks. 2 weeks from tomorrow will be the opening kickoff for Thursday Night Football between the Chiefs and the Ravens. With that being said, Austin and I are here like we did last season. We're going to go through. We found a great website. I think it was the PFF prediction website. We'll make sure to give them their flowers when we start going through it. But we were able to go through and pick all the games for every single NFL team this year, and then it spit out every team's record, every playoff seed, the NFL draft order. It gave us all of that stuff. So we're going to go through and tell you what we think is going to happen. We're guaranteed to be 100% correct, of course. This is K&A Football. All right, Austin, so we're back. I know every single week in the last month or so we've said, oh, this is our favorite episode of the year. But aside from the pick'ems, when the season actually begins, at least for me, this is my favorite episode of the year, talking about every single team and seeing where we think that they're going to finish. So I don't know what you think, but I'm super excited for this episode.
Oh, yeah, I definitely love this episode. I mean, I think that this is... I don't know. I would venture to say this is my favorite. I know that I've said that about the last three, but I think this is my favorite one just because it's we've always been just so wrong every time, and it's kind of fun to then at the end of the year go back, see how we predicted the teams to go and what we said about all of them, and then be like, oh well, fine, I guess that quarterback wasn't the worst, or fine, I guess that coach did suck after all. So it's always fun. It's great that it can be, like I said last week, online for everyone to see how wrong we are. But like Kadin said, we are guaranteed to be 100% correct every single time. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Some highlights of the show, at least from last year. I correctly predicted the Bengals missing the playoffs last season. And if I believe correctly, I think did you pick the Chiefs last year or did you pick the Bills?
I think I picked the Bills last year.
Okay, then never mind. I remember giving you a hard time. I think it was the Chiefs. I think I remember giving you a hard time saying it was a pretty boring pick. But if you said that, that would have been correct.
Yeah. Well, like I said, guaranteed to be 100% correct. So, Kate and I are going to, like I said, we're going to go through, give you guys our predictions. We're going to go division by division here. So that's kind of what we feel is the easiest way. We'll give you guys a little bit of analysis based on why we think teams are going to finish certain ways, but we're not going to get too deep because we have 32 teams to get through, and if we gave everything we thought about every team, we'd be here for 32 hours. So Debbie doesn't want to sit there, and I don't think we have the streaming capacity for that. So all right, so let's kick things off. Kadin, where would you like to start today?
I think last season we began in the AFC, so this year do we want to start in the NFC? Switch things up the year
sure.
later?
Let's switch it up.
Cool. All right, so we're going to start this year in the NFC East.
I like it. All right, NFC East, for me at least, I think it's kind of straightforward. I feel like you're going to have one of these teams finishing a little higher than I have them going. So what do you have for the NFC East here?
Yeah, so should we go top to bottom for all of these or bottom to top? What do you think is the...
Let's go bottom to top. I
bottom
think that makes
to top,
it more interesting. We'll reveal our number one pick. Yeah.
Okay, well, this is actually a very crazy one for me to start off on. This is kind of just a little more fun. So
I'm so excited.
If you're tuning in for the first time,
there's only one right answer, man.
Right, there is only one right answer. But if you're tuning in for the first time, please stay with us. We're not idiots. I have the New York Giants at the bottom of the division, going 0-17.
Oh, okay.
0-17.
All right.
That's what I
did not see that one coming. Okay.
Correct. They are about the lowest I've ever been for a team in years. I know why we said this last year. I famously predicted the Cardinals to go 0-17 last year, and clearly that didn't happen. They ended up being semi-respectable at times. But I truly am very low on this Giants team. They've been terrible for a couple of years now, minus that one outlier season where they made the playoffs. And their entire offense, entire identity has been through Saquon Barkley, and he's left the team. Like Malik Neighbors is going to be there. He's going to be good, but the rest of the team is so bad. I mean, they're not going to go winless, most likely. They're going to win a game or two. But I firmly believe that they're going to finish with the worst record in the NFL and get the first pick next year. And I think 0-17 is fun. So I truly do believe that if there's a team to go 0-17, like in the last couple of seasons, it's this Giants team. Like there is nobody minus Malik Neighbors, and the defenses can just guard Malik Neighbors. So, and then third place in the division, I have the Washington Commanders going 9-8. So that is a winning record for them. That's a very big step up from last year when they had the second worst record in the league. I'm extremely high on Jaden Daniels. Was it last week when we did our season awards, I think?
Yes.
So I'm actually going to go back on last week. I changed my Offensive Rookie of the Year pick to Jaden Daniels. I said Marvin Harrison last week, and I have come to a change of heart. I believe Jaden Daniels is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think that's a very sleeper offense, and Jaden Daniels is about as ready to be an NFL quarterback as we've seen, and I'm super excited for it. And then second place, I have the Dallas Cowboys at 11-6. I think they're just consistent. They didn't gain many people from last year, but they also didn't lose any. And then at first place, I talked about them last week. They're my MVP pick. Their quarterback is. I have the Eagles going 13-4, which that ends up being the number one seed in the NFC. And I think they're due for an incredible year with a new offensive coordinator, Jalen Hurts making another step up from what he was last year, and the addition of Saquon Barkley I think is huge.
I mean, I think these are really good picks here, Kate, and I'm not going to lie to you. Mine kind of line up very similarly. So I'll run through mine real quick here. So I also have the Giants finishing last. I don't have them going 0-17, though. I do have them squeaking out a couple of games. I do have them squeaking out a 5-12. So I know that that's a little bit more than what people are probably saying that they're going to do, but I can see them squeaking out a couple here and there. I mean, any given Sunday, especially if you play, some of your rivals. But obviously when some of your rivals in division are the Eagles and Cowboys, it's a little hard to squeak out those games. But I can see them squeaking out a few. So I have them going 5-12. Right above them, I have the Commanders finishing the same at 5-12. Like you said, Commanders offense is a little slept on, and I am one of the people sleeping on them. I really don't think the Commanders are going to be that fantastic. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on Jaden Daniels. I think he's going to be a great quarterback. I think Terry McLaurin's a better wide receiver than people give him credit for. I think that their offense is going to be okay, but my concern really is the fact that their defense is almost non-existent, and their offense is, I think it's okay. Like, I don't think they're going to do anything crazy. And again, when you're playing the Eagles and the Cowboys twice a year apiece, that loses you a lot of games early. Then right above them, I didn't really catch the record you had them at, but I have the Cowboys at 11-6.
So
respectable.
that's what I had.
You had them 11-6. Okay.
Yep.
Respectable finish. Obviously, I think, that makes them into the playoffs for me. So it's a good finish for them. And then top of the division, making the playoffs. Same record as you, 13-4 for the Eagles. So we finished off similarly there, but just a little difference on how the bottom of the division's ending up. But I think that with the Eagles, you're absolutely right. Jalen Hurts is going to be great. They've been a great team for a long time, last 2-3 years, really. And they always do this crazy thing where, they go undefeated for the first 8, 9, 10 weeks, and then they lose a bunch because, that's just how it is. But like you were talking about, the addition of Saquon Barkley to an already dynamic offense, they didn't lose any pieces anywhere. Had another great draft. Add Saquon Barkley to the mix. You're not slowing down the Eagles.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I agree with that pick.
All right, so then we'll move over a little bit. We'll go to the NFC North. We'll stick with the NFC. We'll roll through all of them. So for me in the NFC North, I have things a little tighter here. Obviously, in the NFC East, I had a big gap between first and last. I think it's going to be a little tighter. I do still have the Bears finishing last. I do think they will be the worst team in this division. They've made a lot of improvements, but they are, they're still the Bears. They added some wide receivers. Very good. Very well. Caleb Williams, obviously, he looks like he's going to be good. But, I mean, I have my issues with them. I don't think that they're going to be anything incredible. They're going to be better than last year. You're going to see improvement for sure, but I do have them finishing at 6-11. Then above them, I have the Vikings going 8-9. You're going to say, Austin, what's that about? Like the Vikings, they've lost all these pieces. They lost Kirk, whatever. And I'm going to say, yeah, you're right. But if you really, in my mind at least, Vikings defense is pretty much the same as it's been for the last 2-3 years. Their offense, they lost some pieces. They lost Kirk. They lost, who was the guy that just got hurt, Kadin? J.J.
McCarthy? Or Jordan Addison?
No, Jordan Addison, that's the one. J.J. McCarthy wasn't going to start anyways.
Right.
Jordan Addison, you lose him, but he's been a pretty recent addition. And you look to 2 years ago, the Vikings won, 12 of their games were within one score that they won. And then last year, 12 of their games were within one score that they lost. And so it really, for the Vikings, it kind of goes both ways where it's like they always keep it really tight. This year, I have them finishing pretty middle of the pack, going 8-9. I have the Packers finishing right above them, but still also 8-9. Not that fantastic. Wow. I know. I would have liked them to finish higher, but the way that it worked out with all the games and such, I have them going 8-9. And then at the top, I have the Lions at 10-7, so I do have them winning the division there.
Wow, that's a pretty. That is a tight division, like you talked about.
Yeah, I kept it tight there.
Mm-hmm. I actually have it at least the bottom. Whatever, we'll get straight to it. I have the Vikings finishing 4th in the division, going 4-13. I think I think they were gonna struggle this year with Sam Darnold, and then eventually throwing in J.J. McCarthy. But I think for fantasy purposes, Sam Darnold might be the better play just for consistency all season. But Sam Darnold cannot win football games. They don't have a great defense. Yes, Justin Jefferson is amazing. Yes, Jordan Addison will be okay, and he will be playing games this season. But Sam Darnold is not that guy at quarterback. Aaron Jones is a serviceable running back, but he gets injured a respectable amount of time, so there's no promise you have him for an entire 17-game season. And ultimately, they have a difficult schedule. So 4-13, playing what I believe is a very tough division. I could call it one of the tougher divisions in the NFL, because then in third place in the division, I have the Chicago Bears at 8-9, which is not an incredible record, but it is a very much improved record from the last couple of seasons. I think that, I would love to see Caleb Williams play like a stud, and there's been a lot of talk of, is he going to be one of the biggest busts ever, or is he going to be like a absolute stud? And I am leaning on the side of he's going to be a stud. I think that this NFL draft will produce 2 elite quarterbacks in Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. I think the rest of the quarterbacks are going to be mid to below average, but I think the top 2 picks in that draft are going to be superstars. And Caleb Williams in a very revamped wide receiver core, offense, even defense, which is already a very good defense. 8-9 record isn't a winning record, isn't playoffs, but that is a huge jump as the last couple of seasons. And clearly, if they go 8-9, I think that they have found their quarterback one, and they have set up for their future. And then that second place in division, I have the Packers going 11-6. The Packers finished the season very hot last year. Obviously destroyed the Cowboys in the wild card round, and then almost beat the 49ers in the divisional round. Jordan Love is obviously getting the massive bag this offseason. They truly believe in him, and his receiving core is another season with him. They were the youngest team in, I believe, NFL history last year, at least the NFL. So another year, all of them for the most part staying on the team, and adding guys like Xavier McKinney at safety, one of the best safeties in the NFL. Josh Jacobs at running back, who's an upgrade over Aaron Jones. I think this team is very good with a respectable schedule too. I think 11-6 is very, very reasonable. And then at first place in the division, only one game above the Packers is the Lions, going 12-5. The Lions have impressed have gotten a little bit better every single season for the last couple of years, and I think that they're not a team that anybody can sleep on anymore. I mean, they were a couple plays away from going to the Super Bowl last season, so they're clearly a team, a force to be reckoned with. And 12-5, I don't think that's anything out of the ordinary to expect here.
I mean, I'm not gonna overly disagree with your picks there. I mean, like I said, I would have liked to have the Packers finish higher in my list. I think that, like you said, they are a really good team that finished hot last year. I think that'll carry over a decent amount, and they improved a lot. But the way I had it with the games, it didn't work out that way. The only thing I'm going to push on is the Vikings. Like, I really, like, in my mind, like, the Vikings in the last couple of years, like, they've really been the definition of, like, a high-end mid team. You know, it's like, you know what you're going to get out of the Vikings, and it is mid. And they've had Kirk Cousins for the last couple of years, and he is like the definition of mid quarterback. But
I think he's kind of pushed himself to above average at this point in his career.
Okay, high-end mid is like, that's the team, that's Kirk. And I really don't think that Sam Darnold is that, like, that out there of like a downgrade from Kirk Cousins, especially after he's been sitting in San Francisco for the last couple of years.
I think Sam Darnold is a huge step down from Kirk Cousins. Like, I think
Kirk Cousins,
he's
going to surprise.
We call him mid. I hope you're right. I mean, I don't have any reason to root against Sam Darnold, but I just believe he's far and away a step down from Kirk Cousins. I think, like, when we saw, like, they were one of the best teams in the NFL 2 years ago, and then last season, up until Kirk's injury, they were very good, and then he gets injured. They bring in Josh Dobbs, and he was amazing for about 2 weeks. And then the wheels just fell off.
Well, exactly. Well, like I said, though, in that season where they were like, quote, one of the best teams in the NFL, like, they really weren't. Like, they were winning games by less than one score. You know, like, they were winning games by like 1 point, 2 point, 3 points. Whatever. I digress. We'll see how it plays out. I don't think the Vikings are going to finish that bad. I don't think the Bears are that good, but we'll see what happens.
Let us know what you guys think about all of these. I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree about that.
I'm sure. And I'm sure that we're going to have a lot of disagreement in here, Caden. Maybe not, but we'll see. Your home division, the NFC South. Go ahead and walk us through this, and then I can tell you why you're wrong.
Yeah, so honestly, like, I'm not going through this division picking as much as I can with my heart. And this is just how the picks fell. Like, looking at the thing, I didn't, like, go through, and at the end of the, like, throughout the thing, I wasn't looking at the division. I was making the picks and then looked at the end how the team stacks up. And at the bottom of the division, at 4-13, so another terrible record, which was very shocking when I saw this. I have the Saints at 4-13. I don't know if it's an incredible schedule that they got. I don't know if it's a little bit of bias. I don't know if I am not a firm believer in Derek Carr at all. The Saints defense, I am a very firm believer of, which is why I was very surprised I had them this far down. So I don't know if it's a tough schedule. I don't know if it's my lack of faith in their offense. Their defense is going to be incredible, just like always. I think they're going to have one of the better defenses in the NFL. But I think Derek Carr is a very below average quarterback. Alvin Kamara is a respectable running back. He can get you a lot of check down yards, and he can pick up first downs and make something out of nothing. And Olave's pretty respectable. Like, he's a pretty above average receiver. Some people are higher on him than others, but when you don't have a quarterback that I believe can get him the ball consistently, I think that offense is going to struggle. So I get them at 4-13. I have the Panthers coming in at third at 9-8. So a winning record. I mean, they have a mid-tier schedule. I think most people are expecting a little bit of a bounce-back year from Bryce Young. Not exactly playoffs. I'm not predicting playoffs either. But it can't get anything worse than a 2-15 season. And I think bringing in a new head coach in Dave Canales, who has made Geno Smith work after like 7 years of Geno Smith being just a career backup, and then reviving Baker's career last year in Tampa Bay, I think Dave Canales can really bring Bryce Young to more of his potential. And the addition of Deontay Johnson at receiver, bringing in Xavier Legette, and a pretty similar defense as what they had last season. I think 9-8 is very doable for the Panthers here, coming in at third. But then tying, I guess, with the same record, but finishing in second, I have the Buccaneers also at 9-8. I think that they're going to have a little bit of a step back from what they were last season. I think they're a little bit similar to the Vikings a couple of years ago when they were just winning all these games by one score. Like, they weren't winning like 12 games by one score last year, but they were kind of like, they're similar to what I believe of the Giants, the year that the Giants were good and made the playoffs. Everybody was expecting Tampa Bay last year to be one of the worst teams in the league, and they went and made the playoffs, won the division. And I think that they're going to take a little bit of a step back, kind of like the Giants did last season. So 9-8, still a winning record, but I think that they don't make the playoffs there. And then winning the division at 12-5, I have the Falcons. I think their offense is going to be really good. I'm high on Kirk Cousins, like we just talked about with Minnesota. Their only question mark to me was their defense, and they just went out last week and traded for Matthew Judon and then signed Justin Simmons, the safety. So now their defense has gone from being one of the worst to, I believe, an above average defense, as when you add in guys like Jeff Okuda as well, and like they have a respectable defense now, as well as what I believe is a very good offense and a very easy schedule, like a very easy schedule. I think the Falcons win this division at 12-5.
Overall, I like those picks. Not going to disagree a whole bunch with you there. I think that the Saints are, like you hit on the Saints a little much for there, but you know what? No matter. My NFC South looks a little different. Got pretty much everyone mixed up from yours. I have at the bottom of the division, I have the Panthers. I have them going 5-12. I'd like them to finish higher. Like, I'm not saying that, like, that's like my official prediction. Like, they're going to finish 5-12. Like, I want them to finish higher. I think that, like you said, Bryce is going to have a better year than last year. They have a better wide receiving core. Overall, they have a better team. Like, they didn't regress. They shouldn't finish any worse. I think that they'll finish better. Bryce's second year in the league. Receivers translate well to the NFL. That's always true. But just the way the picks fall, I have them finishing 5-12. Just above them, but not by much. I have the Saints at 7-10. They're not a fantastic team by any stretch of the imagination. Derek Carr, not great. But he is the check down king. Alvin Kamara is going to do what Alvin Kamara does, and he's going to take those for 30, 40 yards a time. Chris Olave, fine wide receiver, and their defense is going to be great. I think that they're going to be fine. They're going to finish 7-10. Definition of a solid mid-team. Then right above them, I have the Falcons at 10-7. I think that they'll put up a good show. I think they'll have a good showing. But I don't think that they're going to be anything overly spectacular. 10-7 is a really good record, I think. I think that that's, maybe they could squeak out 12-game wins, but I think that for me at least 10 wins is what I'm expecting for them. And then winning the division, just one game ahead of them, I have the Buccaneers at 11-6. They got hot last year. They did better than I could have ever imagined, personally. Like, I expected the Buccaneers to do way worse. Like you said, Baker revived his career last year down there. They still have a decent wide receiving core. Their defense is still good. I think that they're going to win the division, but I think that it'll be a tight race between them and the Falcons, like you said.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the NFC South has been kind of like the crap hole for the NFL for the last like 2 or 3 seasons, but I think this year is a little bit better. I don't think there's really any divisions this year that's like, oh, that's the most pathetic division ever. Like, the NFC South still isn't dominant, but it's not the absolute crapshoot that everyone's been.
I have one division that I'm absolutely hating on this year. Yeah.
Hold on, let me look at my rankings and see if I'm interested to see what you're thinking.
Yeah, I'll trust me. I'll let you know. All right, then wrapping it up here in the NFC, our last division, we have the NFC West. So this division, maybe I'm off my rocker here. I definitely am, because I know that you're not going to have this team finishing last. But I have this team finishing last again, not because I think that they're a terrible team, just the way the picks fell. I like you said, like I wasn't going through this and like, oh well, like I have to have this team finishing with like a ceiling of this many and like a floor
Yeah.
of this many. Like I didn't do that. I didn't then go move my picks around. I made my picks and then I looked later and it's just how it fell. So I'm sorry to anyone offended by this one, but I do have the Rams going 6-11 and being at the bottom of the division. Do I think this will happen?
Wow,
No, I don't. Like I really like I don't. I'm not exactly sure how we ended up in this situation where the Rams are finishing this bad. I don't think they will. Okay, let it be known. But if it happens, you heard it here first. Rams at
how
the
it
bottom
works.
of the division. Then above them,
You can't be faulted for it, but if it
I
happens,
really can't. But if it happens, I'm a genius. Yeah, ESPN, please sign me. Then above them, I have the Cardinals going 7-10. I think they're going to have a much better year than they have. I mean, last year they didn't have Kyler for most of it, and now they do. They have Marvin Harrison, and I think they exceeded expectations last year. I mean, you said you expected them to not even win a game last year. A lot of people were saying that. They're like, they're going to win 1, maybe 2 games as their ceiling. And then they did a little bit better than that. They were respectable at times. So I have them going 7-10. Not anything crazy. Then I have the Seahawks going 8-9. Losing record, but it's a solid showing from them. I think 2 years ago, Geno Smith did something incredible, and you're like, whoa, how did this happen? This is fantastic. Last year, he didn't show that same poise. He really wasn't the same guy last year as he was the year before, and I think this year is going to be all sorts of mid. Then at the top, of course, everyone could have guessed it, I do have the 49ers finishing at 13-4. Winning the division, and that will actually, based on how all of the picks fell, even though I have the Eagles at 13-4 as well, it will give them the number 1 seed just based on the teams that they all played.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of crazy that you got the Rams at last. When you were talking about, when you were talking about, I don't think we're gonna have the same team coming in 4th. I think that you might find this crazy. People might find this crazy. I thought you were going with the same thing as me. I have the Seattle Seahawks in 4th place.
Really?
In the NFC West. Yeah. I have them going 6-11. That's not bad at all for being a 4th place team. That's a pretty good record for a last place team in a division. But I'm not as high on the Seahawks team anymore. I think Geno Smith, like you said, he had that crazy season 2 years ago. And then last year they weren't as good. I mean, they were respectable, but I'm not high on the Seahawks team anymore. I think Geno Smith, it's getting ready for him to go. I think he had that one good year. Last season was all right, but I think deep down, Geno Smith is just that backup tier, really high backup tier or a low tier starter quarterback. I mean, they have not really many changes from last year. I just think that they're slowly degressing. Geno Smith is at that. Was what I mean. I think that they took a big step back. They have a first-year head coach, and that is a lot of times a recipe for a worse record. I know that that's a little bit hypocritical of me to say because I have a lot of teams who have a new head coach finishing as a good team and a good record, but for some reason, the way that the picks lined up, I'm not high on the Seahawks team. I didn't go into it thinking I'm going to make them 4th. That's just how the picks lined up, and they have a tough schedule. I mean, they got to play a respectable amount of teams as they finished as a solid team last year. And then at 3rd place, I also have the Arizona Cardinals. I have them going also 6-11. But I think that they're going to be better than the Seahawks, if that makes sense. Like, you can watch a team go 7-10, and you can watch another team go 7-10. And one of those teams is like, wow, how did this team manage to go 7-10? And the other team's like, wow, how did this team manage to only go 7-10? And I think that's kind of going to be the Cardinals. I think they're going to be a really fun offense to watch this year. But what scares me is I think they're going to have a historically bad defense. They have Buda Baker on that defense, and aside from that, I truly don't know if I could tell you anybody else on that defense. So I think Kyler Murray is going to have, me and you have talked about it separately, I think Kyler Murray is going to have close to a career year this year, and I think Trey McBride really came into his own at the end of last season. I think he's a crazy good tight end that everybody should be targeting in their fantasy drafts, by the way. And Marvin Harrison Jr., I mean, we talked about him last week. Extremely, extremely high floor for a rookie receiver. He has potential to already be a top 5 receiver by the end of his rookie year. Like, he's that good. And I'm just excited to watch the Cardinals. I think they're going to be a fun team. And then at second place, I have the Los Angeles Rams at 10-7. I mean, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp healthy the entire season, Matthew Stafford bringing in Kyren Williams, and they drafted Blake Corum to help take some of the load off of Kyren Williams so that he doesn't get injured and become kind of like Aaron Jones where he's missing half of the year. So I'm excited for the Rams offense. I mean, their defense isn't going to be as dominant as it has been the last couple of years, but I do think that they're going to be a fun team to watch as well with their offense. And also at 13-4, I have the 49ers. I mean, it sounds like they're keeping Ayuk, so they're going to keep their offense. They also drafted Ricky Pearsall in the first round. I mean, their offense is just so good. I mean, maybe the best like skill position plus offensive line we have ever seen. I mean, if you could just put another I'm not high on Brock Purdy. If you could just put another quarterback there, I think that they could just be like the greatest show on turf 2.0. But I have them going 14-3, which is, I mean, also the most like incredible defense in the NFL. I mean, there's not many flaws with this team. So 14-3, that gets them second in the NFC because I have the Eagles going 13-4 as well. That's what I meant for both teams, 13-4. And then, but the Eagles having either the head-to-head or the schedule. I don't remember which one it was. So, yeah.
And like I'd like to hate on your picks, but other than the Seahawks one going so low, but just let it be known, everyone, that like Kadin having the Rams going second in the division, me having the Rams going last in the division is only a swing of 4 games. So a 4-game swing in any direction leaves them with the same record that we have. So I know that mine is a little low, but it's only a 4-game swing no matter how you slice it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So before we get into the NFC, not the NFC. We already did the NFC. Before we get into the AFC, we're going to talk to you about K&F Construction. K&F Construction has been serving the Northeast Ohio community for over 16 years, specializing in composite decks. K&F Construction takes the time and effort to provide the service and product that you deserve for your home. You can call K&F Construction today at 330-575-2465 for a free estimate. Again, that's 330-575-2465. And you can also visit kfdex.com, which is linked in the description below. K&F Construction. Let us build your dream backyard.
All right, so now heading over to the AFC. This is where all of the good teams reside. So AFC East is where we'll kick things off. So AFC East, bottom of the division for me, is who I have going for the worst record in the NFL this year. I have the Patriots going 3-14. I think that it will be an abysmal year for them. I have literally no faith in their offense. Their defense is the only thing that's going to hold them together. And, again, first-year head coach. It's not Belichick's team anymore. I really don't know what to expect from them other than that it's going to be bad. So I have them going 3-14. Nothing else for me to say there. Then we get a little bit tighter with things. I have the Jets next. I have them going 9-8. So a winning record, a respectable record, but you may remember a couple weeks ago when we talked about
comeback player of the year, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, how are the Jets going to be? First off, comeback player of the year is still very much on the table for a 9-8 team. Let it be known.
Yeah.
So comeback player of the year, totally cool with still calling Rodgers. Going to be fine. The Jets, I have them going 9-8. It's respectable. They missed the playoffs just barely, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. I don't have anything against the Jets. I think they have a great receiving core. I think they have a decent running back. I love Rodgers. Their defense is fantastic, but when the other two teams in your division are the Dolphins and the Bills, I don't think the Jets are necessarily better than either of those teams. So then right above them, I have the Bills at 10-7. Again, that's just one game ahead of the Jets. I think the Bills are going to be fine. Like, I get it, they lost Diggs, but Diggs really wasn't the centerpiece of that offense. Like, he wanted to be that guy, but he really wasn't. And that's really the main reason that he got out. So I think the Bills are going to be fine. I think that people are overhyping this. Like, what are they going to do on offense? It's like, well, the offense didn't run through Stephon. Stephon was like the decoy for, double team Stephon. They throw it to someone else. So I think they're going to be fine. They're going to finish 10-7 is what I have them at. And then, again, one game ahead of them, I have the Dolphins at 11-6. So those top three spots go bang, bang, bang. They're all one game outside of each other. I have the Dolphins going 11-6, winning the division. I mean, their defense is fast. Their defense is good. And then their offense is just unstoppable. I mean, when you have speed like their offense has, there's no slowing them down. So I have the Dolphins winning the division, but like I said, those top three spots are all one game outside of each other. I could really see it going anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think I just might be the most negative predictor ever because I'm also very low on the Patriots. I mean, you said that you have them as your worst team this year. I obviously have the Giants going 0-17, so that is helped by the Giants for me. But I have the Patriots as my second worst team, going 2-15. So that's worse than. So I don't know if that's just if I'm low on a team, I am low on a team. But I'm also very low on this Patriots team, and I'm not gonna lie. I'm going through this, and I knew I could not have two teams going 0-17, so I just had to start picking games. And I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna pick. I can't find games on the schedule that oh yeah, they have a chance in this game. I'm same with the Giants. That's why I actually gave the Giants legitimately 0 wins. But 2-15 for the Patriots. Obviously a horrible season. It's gonna be interesting to see what they do if they start Drake May, if they start Jacoby Brissett, if they bring in Joe Milton at some point. Joe Milton at some point this season. Yeah, Drake Milton and Joe May.
Yep.
But at third place in the division, I have the Jets at 8-9. So a mid-tier season. I talked about it last week. Last week, I believe it was, yeah. I don't believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to look like the Aaron Rodgers we are kind of expecting him to. I think he's going to be a average quarterback, maybe a little bit above, but not the Aaron Rodgers we're all hoping for and expecting. Coming off of an Achilles tear at his age is very concerning, and not being a mobile type quarterback with a questionable offensive line. I mean, definitely an improved offensive line, but 8-9 is what I see from them. And I have the Bills then at 11-6. I think that, like you said, the loss of Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, but the loss of Stephon Diggs doesn't really affect them all too much. They really stopped focusing on Stephon Diggs towards the end of that season, and they really let Josh Allen control the offense, as well as James Cook. The two of them played very good down the stretch of last year. And I think that's just what they do again this year. I think Keon Coleman, their rookie wide receiver, could really step up and emerge as a good wide receiver as well. And I think we see an incredible season from Josh Allen, like a career season from Josh Allen. And that is saying something because he's had some incredible seasons. I think he's really going to take this team on his back in terms of just if his receivers aren't doing the job, if James Cook isn't doing the job, he's going to do the job himself. He is going to run the ball. He is going to make things happen. I don't know what's in store for him, but I'm expecting a big season from Josh Allen. If my MVP wasn't Jalen Hurts, it would be Josh Allen for this season. And I've never been much of a Josh Allen fan. I've never been high on Josh Allen, and yeah, you know that more than anybody, but I'm expecting a big season from Josh Allen this year. I was honestly a little bit surprised. I only had them at 11-6. I'm expecting big things from him. From the AFC East, the winner, I have the Miami Dolphins, like you do. I have them going 12-5. They have a very respectable schedule. And like you said, their speed is just completely unfair. I think Devon Achane, however you want to say his name. Nobody says his name correctly. Even the announcers don't. But I think he has a completely breakout season at the running back spot. So you got him. you got Tyreek Hill, you got Jalen Waddle, you got Raheem Mostert. They are all like 4 or 5 of the fastest guys in the NFL, and they're all in the same offense. Like, there's no stopping that. So I think Miami wins that division at 12-5. But again, that's only a game better than Buffalo, and I could easily see that flipping.
Yeah, totally. All right, then moving over a little bit, we have the AFC North. This is my home division, in case you didn't notice from the stuff behind me. And I'd like to say this is kind of the same with you when you were talking about the NFC South. Like, I didn't go through this and say, like, you know, I want this team to finish last because I hate this team or anything like that. Like, it was just looking at the game. Do I think that this team has what it takes? And I'm sorry to say, but I have the Steelers finishing last. I have them going 6-11. I have Mike Tomlin not having a winning season this year. Like, I'm really just not high on the Steelers whatsoever. I really think that last year, what they did towards the end of the season to somehow, like, just say, hey, TJ, if you don't get us a winning season, we're not going to pay you. And then TJ Watt just threw that team on his back and did absolutely everything those last couple of weeks. I think that was an absolute miracle. Like, they really came down to the wire on whether or not they were going to have a winning season and keep Mike Tomlin's legacy alive. So I really don't think that they can do it. Like, I think the addition of Russell Wilson and Justin Fields really isn't that much of an upgrade over Kenny Pickett. Russell Wilson really hasn't done anything since he left Seattle. He's been absolutely abysmal. And Justin Fields' confidence, I feel like, is shattered at this point, especially with them talking about moving him to like a kick returner or something like that. Like, Justin Fields is not going to be the same guy for a couple of years. Like, it's good that he's got out of Chicago and can get a new system, but I don't think that Pittsburgh is the places that's going to turn into a fantastic quarterback. So I have them going 6-11. Then massive jump. I have the Bengals in third. But I do have them going 12-5 for the third place spot. I think that the AFC North, for the last couple years and this year continuing, is going to be one of the toughest divisions in football. It's going to absolutely eat you alive. And so in third place, having 12-5 is rough. The Bengals are going to be fine. They're going to be great. Their offense is going to be whatever. Their defense, I don't understand how their defense is as good as it is, but it always manages to surpass expectations. Bengals at 12-5, then Browns above them, but still at 12-5 for the Browns as well. People, I don't know what's up with all of this. Maybe it's a little bit of stuff behind me, but people keep they keep having the Browns finishing worse. Like, I've seen things where they have the Browns finishing last and they're winning like single-digit games, and I don't see that. Like, I don't see how that's even a possibility. Last year, the Browns had 25% of our starting roster out with season-ending injuries, and you're going to tell me that we made the playoffs with 5 different quarterbacks and Joe Flacco as our number one guy, and you're going to go ahead and tell me that we're going to not even finish with double-digit wins this year? I don't think that's insane. So I have the Browns finishing 12-5, and I'm comfortable saying that. Then at the top of the division, I do have the Ravens at 13-4. I think the Ravens are going to be honestly unstoppable, man. Like, their defense is going to walk all over you, and they're not going to care. And then their offense is like, what are you really going to do? You know, like, you have Derrick Henry in the backfield, and so it's like you're just going to get pounded with that over and over and over again. And then Lamar Jackson, like, he's either going to throw it over your head or he's also going to run. Like, what are you going to do when they decide to run an option? Who are you going to guard? There's nothing you can do. Ravens are going to be a fantastic team this year. I have them winning the division here.
Yeah. Like you were talking about with the whole, you were really not trying to pick with your heart. You're really just like not trying to pick just because, like, I 100% understand and like resonate with you. Like, people are going to think like, oh, he's picking this because like no. I people don't understand. Like, you can't make the picks without people thinking you're a bias. But
I know.
At fourth place in the division, I have Pittsburgh as well, going 8-9. So I also have them missing out on their winning record. But I think it will be close. I think it's really going to come down to the end of the year, and it's going to be a big storyline of, oh, they're this close. They need one more win. It's going to come down to that last week, and they're going to lose. So I think 8-9 is realistic for them. I honestly think that's a little bit gracious towards them. And then this is an example of I seriously go through every single game and just pick, and then I look at the end. And I didn't want to go through and change something just because I didn't like it. One of the teams that I am highest on this NFL season, like I think this team could go to the Super Bowl with all honesty. But I have them finishing third in this division and not making the playoffs at 9-8. I have the Baltimore Ravens.
Wow.
I know, and I am extremely high on this team, just like you talked about. I think they're going to be an unstoppable offense, and they have one of the best defenses as well. But I got 9-8 missing the playoffs, which is absolutely insanity to me. I really can't go into this one because I think they're going to be good and not 9-8. So I don't think this is going to be correct. But second place, I have 11-6, the Cleveland Browns. I think, like you talked about, they can't really get any worse than last season with all of their injuries. I think the big question mark is if Deshaun Watson can play like the Browns expected him to be when they traded for him. So if he does, then they can be better than this. If he isn't, then they could be worse. So I think 11-6 is very reasonable for the Browns. And then every single year, I pulled up the stat. Every year but the first season of realignment, so 17 straight times, a team has gone from finishing last in the division the year before to first. 17 straight years that has happened. And I think that happens again this year. I mean, the stats, the trends aren't lying. I have the Cincinnati Bengals finishing first. Don't forget about how good this team is when Joe Burrow is healthy. I think we all forget because last year he missed a chunk of the season. Mm-hmm. I mean, this team was in the AFC Championship 2 years ago, the Super Bowl the year before. I mean, this team is so good with Joe Burrow healthy, and I think that this is their last year to do it with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins all there. I think that they're obviously still going to be contenders and be able to do it, but this is their last year to do it with those guys there. I think that they're going to be a good team, and I have them finishing 12-5 and winning the division.
That's fair. I think that's good, other than the Ravens thing, but we'll ignore that.
I agree with you. I agree.
That. Yeah. All right. Then the AFC South. I also have this one really, really tight. For me, I have the Titans at 5-12. I don't think they're going to be a very good team. They're not going to be great. They're really awful. Then right above them, I have in third place the Jacksonville Jaguars at 9-8. I think they're going to end up doing a little bit worse than they have in years past. I don't really see them being that dynamic, especially given the rest of the division. So that being said, then come what I feel are going to be the powerhouses in this division this year is going to be the Texans, who I have finishing in second at 10-7. Last year they had a great year. Their offense was honestly really, really good, exceeded expectations from everyone. I mean, they went from one of the worst teams in the NFL, got the second overall pick, to all of a sudden, that they made the playoffs and they even won a game. So bravo to them and their entire front office, and I think they're going to continue that. I don't see a reason why they wouldn't. But then at the top of the division at 12-5, I have the Colts. I think they should have done better last year, but I think with Anthony Richardson getting hurt, I think that's not great, and he hasn't had an entire year now to watch film, get better. I think he's going to be a very Lamar Jackson-esque kind of player where he has that insane running upside, and with an entire year worth of time to work on his throwing, everything like that, I think he's going to be just fine, and I have the Colts winning the division over there.
Did you just see what happened?
I see that you no longer have the mic cover, but I don't know why that happened.
Debbie, I am going to need this part a little clipped out. It doesn't need to be a reel or anything, but I just really want to... I guess I can go and look at it once it's posted, but that made me laugh. I was not expecting that. But yeah, I like those picks. In last place, I have another team that I am very, very low on. I have this team being the third worst team in the NFL. I have the Tennessee Titans at 3-14. I'm not high on this team at all. Think that Will Levis is not a good quarterback. They have a very bad defense, and they lost their entire identity, and that being Derrick Henry. I think that they're going to struggle. They're going to be a bad offense and a bad defense. Not a good team. At third, I have the Indianapolis Colts finishing at 8-9. I think that Anthony Richardson is going to be a great runner. Do not get me wrong. He's going to be a phenomenal runner. But passing does scare me a little bit. Stuff came out today that they're in a joint practice with. I forget who they're in a joint practice with, but the other team was flaming him, and they were like, the corners were saying, "Can you throw the ball for once?" Like, and then another play they drop back, and another guy would be like, "Dude, like, do you know how to throw the ball?" And someone said, "Dude, like, another run play. Like, all he is doing is running the ball." And then someone came out and said he doesn't throw to receivers. He throws to spots at the field and prays that his receivers can run over there because he can't hit his receivers. So I'm a little bit worried about Anthony Richardson there. Second place in division, I have the Jaguars at 9-8. Not the most high on the Jags this year. I mean, 9-8 is an okay season. It's a winning record, but for the Jaguars standards, I think that they'd like to go a little better than that. I just don't think that they're going to have a great season. They have a tough schedule, and I mean, I don't know. I really thought they were going to be good last year, and they kind of disappointed. And then at first place, I have the Houston Texans going 11-6. It's really hard to not have a great record when you have that dynamic of a wide receiver core. Also bringing in Joe Mixon, I think they're going to have a very good offense.
I could not agree more. And I think those are great rankings there. Like, I can't really disagree with you there. Obviously, I have the Colts going higher than that, and I believe in Richardson a little more, but we'll see what happens, really. Like, we really don't know. We didn't get to see him play too much. All right, then our last division here, we have the AFC West, and this is the division that I hate on. I'll run through this real quick. Basically, listen up, guys. I am not high on any but one of these teams. I think that they are all absolute trash.
Which team could that be?
No expectations. I really wonder. So, at the bottom of the division, at 4-13, I have the Broncos. I think they're going to be terrible. They just announced that they're going to have Bo Nix be their starting quarterback. They finally announced it. Bo Nix, he's the number one guy. Hip, hip, hooray, except that the fact that they're the worst. I really don't think they're going to be great. Sorry, Sean Payton. Drew Brees is what made you great. I think we can, like, if you don't go crazy this year, we can honestly say Drew Brees is what made you. Then,
great.
Right above them is the Raiders, also at 4-13. I think they're going to be awful. Gardner Minshew, I like the guy. I really do. I love the stash. But what do you have going for you? I really don't think anything. 4-13 for them. You get a losing record. Okay, another losing record. Chargers, 5-12. I think they're going to be terrible too.
Wow.
Who are you throwing to, Justin Herbert? Who? Answer me that. Austin Eckler has done nothing productive in the last season and a half. You're throwing to absolutely nobody. Like
Austin Eckler
throwing to no one before.
Austin Eckler left.
Eckler, what? Exactly. I actually completely forgot about that. I'm not even going to lie to you. Okay, so no running back, even better.
That was pretty funny.
Wide receiving core is non-existent. Justin Herbert, I like the guy. I don't think he's that great of a quarterback, but how are you going to throw to bags of potato chips? You can't. Okay, they don't have hands. All right, Chargers not doing a dang thing. Then obviously winning the division with a fantastic record, and we love them so much. Oh, they're the pretty boys of the NFL. Oh my, is the Kansas City Chiefs at 13-4. They didn't lose any pieces last year. They won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do?
Yep. I can't agree too much with your picks there. I have the Broncos in last place going 4-13 as well. I think Bo Nix is going to be mid. Not terrible, but mid. He's looked all right in the preseason. Granted, that's against backups. So we'll see how he does week 1 when he's thrown into a real NFL game with real starters. But yeah, I think Sean Payton was clearly a beneficiary of Drew Brees. At 5-12, I have the Raiders. I'm not high on Gardner Minshew. I mean, he is a fun quarterback to watch, and he can win you a couple games a year. I mean, he won a lot of games last year with the Colts. I don't know how. It just, like, all of a sudden I looked up and I was like, wow, if they win this last game, they're in the playoffs. Didn't happen, obviously, but it's going to be interesting to watch them. They have a rookie tight end in Brock Bowers, who I'm super excited to watch. I think he's going to be good. I really wish he'd have gone to another team because I think the Raiders are a very bad team for him to go to, a really bad fit. At 8-9, I have the Chargers. Unfortunately, I don't have the Chargers making the playoffs this year because if you've been following the podcast for the last couple of years, I've always been so high on Herbert and so high on the Chargers, but Herbert is dealing with his plantar fasciitis foot thing, and like Austin said, he's really throwing to nobody, and Jim Harbaugh relies on the run game, and their running backs are Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, and those are two guys who aren't really bell cow running backs at this point in their careers. So I think that they're going to struggle a little bit. 8-9, I have them, and then at first place, like you, I have the Kansas City Chiefs going 14-3, really good, winning the NFC or AFC West, winning like the 1 seed is what I was trying to say, and having the best overall record in the NFL. But yeah. Now we can jump straight into the playoffs because I know you have to hurry and get out of here soon. So, yeah, let's hear either one of your playoffs.
Okay, so let's see. I'll do AFC. The way things shake out, we'll start from bottom to top. So at the 7 seed, I have the Bills squeaking in with the 10-7 record. Then in the number 6 spot, I have the Bengals. Number 5, Browns. Number 4, I have the Dolphins. 3, I have the Colts. Number 2 is the Chiefs, and my number 1 seed for the AFC is the Ravens. So 3 AFC North teams making it to the playoffs, and I feel comfortable saying that.
Mm-hmm. My playoff picture looks like Jaguars at 7, 6 being the Bills, 5 is the Cleveland Browns, 4 is the Texans, 3 is the Dolphins, 2 is the Bengals, and 1 getting the bye is the Chiefs.
All right. Then for my NFC, I have 7 being the Seahawks, 6 being the Falcons, 5 is the Cowboys. They'll lose immediately, don't worry. 4 is the Lions, 3 I have the Buccaneers. Number 2 I have the Eagles, and then the number 1 seed I have the 49ers.
Mm-hmm. I got the Rams at 7, Packers at 6, Cowboys at 5, Falcons at 4, and then I have the Lions at 3, Niners at 2, and the Eagles with the bye at 1. And when we talk about the matchups in the NFC, this would be like the most like script writers absolutely on their game for these playoffs. But did you predict your playoffs?
Yeah, you can go first on this one.
Oh, okay. Well, we can do NFC first. So let me just tell you, if this happens, scriptwriters deserve a massive raise because the first game, Falcons and Cowboys, that one's not too exciting. I have the Cowboys winning that one. Wild card round. Nothing crazy, don't worry. But then we got Niners-Rams rivalry game. I have the Niners winning that one. Next game, Lions-Packers rivalry game. I have the Lions winning that one. And then in the divisional round, we got Eagles-Cowboys rivalry game. I have the Eagles winning that one. And then we got Lions-Niners, rematch of last year's NFC Championship game. I think that the Lions would come with a vengeance in this game. They're not going to let what happened last year happen again, and I think the Lions win. And then in the NFC Championship, Eagles-Lions, I have the Eagles winning and going to the Super Bowl.
You have the Eagles
those matchups. Yeah, Eagles going to the Super Bowl. I think that those matchups would literally like so many rivalry games. You got Eagles-Cowboys, you got Lions-Packers, and you got Niners-Rams, and then you have a rematch of last year's NFC Championship. Like, that is insane to me.
Okay, so mine is absolutely tweaking out. Like, it's telling me that I have...
Mine did the same. Like, this is how I literally had to make mine. I had to make a screenshot, and this is how I had to make mine. This is a screenshot because my
that is the word. It's
broke.
Absolutely tweaking. It's telling me I got the Bears in the playoffs. We both know I ain't got that. Anyway, so I'll just try to walk through this real quick. So, in the NFC matchups, I would have the Seahawks at Eagles, and I obviously would have the Eagles winning that. I have the Falcons at Buccaneers, and I do have the Buccaneers winning that one. I don't think Kirk is going to win there. Then Cowboys at Lions, and sorry, Cowboys, it's never your year. I would have the Lions winning that one. So then we would have the 49ers playing the Lions, and I think the 49ers would win there. Then we would have the Eagles playing the Buccaneers. Eagles win there. So my NFC Championship game would be Eagles-Niners again, and I would have the 49ers going to the Super Bowl.
For back-to-back seasons. That could easily happen. In the AFC, I got the Texans versus Browns, rematch of last year's wild card game. I think the Browns would be able to get the best of them this time in a rematch. So the Browns winning that one. The Bengals and the Jags, I think the Bengals would win that one with a healthy Joe Burrow for an entire season. And then I got the Dolphins and the Bills, so another rivalry game, and I got the Bills and their experience in that game. So then I got Chiefs Bills, obviously a game everybody loves, the annual Chiefs Bills playoff game. I got the Chiefs winning this one once again, per the usual. And then we got Browns Bengals, another rivalry game. And I got the Bengals and their playoff experience in this one, setting up another annual rematch of the playoffs, the Bengals and the Chiefs. And I got the Chiefs winning this one as the AFC Championship to send them to the Super Bowl. So we have a rematch of the Eagles and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
I like that. Okay, for me, I would have the Bills at Chiefs, classic. Bengals at Colts, and Browns at Dolphins. So how I think this would shake out is I think the Chiefs would beat the Bills. The Bengals would beat the Colts, and then the Dolphins would beat the Browns, which means that our next matchups would be the Chiefs playing the Bengals, because of course it would, or sorry, no, not that. We would have the Ravens playing the Bengals and the Chiefs playing the Dolphins. So obviously divisional matchup there, Bengals and Ravens. Sorry. I think the Ravens would win that. And then for the Chiefs Dolphins, I would have the Chiefs winning that. So then in our AFC Championship matchup, we have Ravens against the Chiefs. And I would have the Ravens winning this one to send the Ravens to the Super Bowl.
I like it.
All right, Caden, finally, who do we have winning the Super Bowl this year?
Super duper high on this team. I've talked about them many times. I think that if you've paid attention to my playoffs, it's really any team that's in a rematch game, that team manages to win. And this is a rematch of 2 years ago Super Bowl, and I think that the Eagles can win this one with a new Jalen Hurts, new offense, and Saquon Barkley.
Totally could happen. For me, I think they could have done it last year, but I'm gonna go Ravens. I think the Ravens are gonna win the Super Bowl this year. I really thought that they were going to be able to manage to at least make it to the playoffs last year, make it to the Super Bowl last year. Didn't end up doing that. Lamar Jackson won MVP off of really not that statistically great of a season, but he is a fantastic player. And so I think the Ravens have all of the pieces together to make a Super Bowl run and go win the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, 49ers, you get another shot at
Second
it.
place.
You don't get it.
They get a second place trophy.
Yeah.
But all right, that is this week's episode of K&A Football. If you disagree with any of our crazy takes, which I know that there is a decent amount of them, let us know below. And let us know in the comments. Send us a DM. Let us know in person. Tell us how dumb you think that we are. But at the end of the season, when we come back and watch this episode, you guys are going to be like, wow, you guys really know your stuff. So
true.
All right. Thank you guys for watching this episode, and we will see you guys next week.